I want to start with a fascinating question that I just thought of.
All right.
Would you want to be a Supreme Court justice?
Yeah, I would. I think you're a little detached. I would feel like I couldn't watch Ozark or Succession. Let's go with Succession. No disrespect to Ozark. Succession, no. Come on, top 8 show ever? Like,
I don't know, but I absolutely love it. And I was on board that train the minute the first episode hit. And then I feel like some folks were late to that train, and now all of a sudden everybody's on board. I'm not saying anything except for all the words I've just said.
Yeah, I'm one of the others, although not long. I like the first 4 episodes. I was like, I like it, because it's about a media company that's cool, but I didn't love it. And then something clicked in like episode 5, and by 8, I was like, no, the season can't be over. And then season 2 was so much better than season 1, and season 1 was great. It really upped itself from an already high level.
So do you think that if you're a Supreme Court justice, you're constitutionally not allowed to watch good shows like Succession?
I just feel like you were detached from regular world activities. By the way, I'm sure that you can get internet service if you're a Supreme Court justice at your home. But do people come over? Do they go to games? I mean, obviously they do, because Brett Kavanaugh somehow gets season tickets to the Nationals and pays a tremendous amount of money for them when he doesn't have it. So obviously you can do okay. But somehow it feels like a job that is above it all, and I don't really want a job that's above it all. But I'd manage. I'd have to slum it less. But yeah, I would like to be a Supreme Court justice. It feels like a pretty cool gig.
Yeah, so I think the answer is bifurcated for me. And I was going to do this in a Facebook Live video, and I probably will. But what, the word bifurcated?
Yeah, just kind of out of nowhere,
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. It's all right. I'm sure I've used it.
Yeah. No, Ben,
it doesn't seem like it's not an old school word. Just
Yeah, I hear you. It's just that I'm more sophisticated than you. It's okay. It's not a big deal.
I got you.
Well, we'll see. We'll see in my answer to Supreme Court whether I'm sophisticated or not. But I'll tell you, of course you're kidding. But I have the perfect story of something that shows that what you just stated is, of course, not true. So one day I was sitting at a Starbucks in DC, and I look over, I'm like,
it's Elena Kagan.
That's right, it's Elena Kagan. I'm like, huh. And I thought the same thing you did. We're both joking, but they seem so above the fray, and which I wish that was really the case. I'm afraid it's not really, but that's at least the mythology behind it. That I'm like, wait, is she allowed to go to a Starbucks?
Yeah, what's she doing at a Starbucks? Isn't there some exclusive club where they'll make you an espresso and you don't have to talk to the barista?
Yeah, there's got to be one inside the Supreme Court building, and you've got to press in some stone thing, and then the library, turns around, and there's the most amazing espresso bar you've ever seen. But it wasn't so much that she was at a Starbucks, and obviously of course she could go to a Starbucks. Of course they go to Starbucks, right? But that she sat outside in this little cafe section they have, and no one recognized her.
Yeah, you know what it is, Cenk? You know what it is? I hate to interrupt your bifurcation story, but it is the I think this is it. You feel like they're always sequestered. Right, they're like a jury of 12 people, except here it's 9, and they can't know anything that's going on in the world, or it might influence. Suppose she's there at Starbucks, and she overhears, especially in DC, a conversation about whether the SEC ought to have jurisdiction over private banking, right? And oh no, right? It's like no, she can't possibly hear that. I get it. Once again, it's absurd, but I think I've at least touched on what is happening in my head.
Yeah, and now of course, the reality is that the Supreme Court justices don't have to be sequestered, and that's part of the bifurcation of our judicial system that drives me crazy. So we don't trust juries. That's why if you've ever heard of O.J. Simpson, you're not allowed to be on O.J. Simpson's jury, which is absurd. Then you wind up people having that live in caves wind up on the juries, right? But judges can hear of O.J. Simpson all day long. They can hear excluded evidence all day long because judges are judged, if you will, by the system to be smart enough to put that aside, whereas juries are not. Right now, and funny enough, what she would have heard there is Ro Khanna and I talking about the beginning of Justice Democrats, and perhaps that could have influenced her.
Could have. Did they say hello to each other?
So, well, I mean, that's another funny thing here, right? It feels like name dropping, but number one, anyone could have been at that Starbucks and seen Elena Kagan, so that's not name dropping.
I love Ro Khanna. Everybody who sort of believes in progress and concern for your fellow man ought to love Ro Khanna. But I don't know, except like on the Young Turks, is Ro Khanna considered name dropping? I mean, without even the use of California Representative Ro Khanna, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But we were talking about just Democrats right at the beginning. That was a couple of years ago. So that, maybe right around 3 years ago when we were starting it. And so I'm sure A, she didn't hear it, B, she didn't care, et cetera. But the reason I brought that up is because I was like, Ro, is that Supreme Court Justice Elena Kagan? And he's like, I think so. He's like, but what's she doing at a Starbucks sitting outside? So he thought the same thing we did. Right?
Yeah, right. Of course. It really feels like, and you make such an obvious point, but like, don't watch, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, don't read about the case, don't talk about the case with your family. Try to avoid news stories and articles. If you see an article, don't read it. If you hear a news story, turn it off. Try not to watch the news, right? And of course, these guys are right. I mean, they're reading the New York Times, they're reading the Wall Street Journal, they're reading the opinion pages. They're taking in everything about what's happening in the country. So the notion that politics never comes into the court, first of all, I mean, obviously, of course, as you've inferred here, that's an absurd concept. But they make no effort whatsoever to keep themselves from that. They know exactly the mood of the country when they decide cases, and I'm not sure that they shouldn't. That's in a sense that's okay as long as there are good, decent people on the court. I mean, there's no excuse to not have good, decent people on the court. That's going to create a catastrophe no matter what they do.
Yeah. So they have TVs. They go online, presumably, although maybe not. But the bifurcation I was referring to is about a different thing, which is if I was offered to the Supreme Court, which would be hilarious and has less than 0% chance of happening. I'm going to tell you why I say it's such an obvious comment in a second, and it relates to my mom. But if they were offered it to me, I think my reaction would be, God damn it, I guess I got to take it. My point is, yeah, I would take it, but I don't want to. I don't want to hear cases all day long and have that be my entire life. But you'd have a deep obligation to do it. So of course, a good person who cares about the world would have to take the job. But the question is, do you want to? And I actually don't want to.
I think it'd be a pretty great job. I mean, first of all, you don't hear cases all day. I mean, these people are like never in session. You got the best staff in the world. I mean, you really get to hire the smartest people there are. They help you write cases. I mean, they write opinions. But I mean, like Ruth Bader Ginsburg wrote all her life. She's a really great writer. All of her aides, all of her clerks say that. And then they got to they talk to her reasoning, and then they help craft the opinion. Then she looks it over, and she was ruthless, apparently. Or not harsh, but like very specific. If it wasn't what she wanted, but I think hearing those cases, and because those cases are bigger than those cases, and so many of them involve setting the course for the country, setting policy, essentially determining where Congress has overstepped its bounds, determining, obviously disputes between states, disputes between the federal government and states. I don't know, those are so interesting that they lead to much broader conversations. And I would imagine there was always an interesting case to handle. I would just feel like I couldn't leave my home. But what you could do, you could pull a David Souter, which turned out to be an incredibly regrettable thing when Souter retired from the court. But you're like, yeah, great, I'll be on the court. 15 years max, maybe 11, then I'm out, especially if the current president is someone who I would trust to replace me.
Now, it would be enormously intellectually stimulating. And yeah, of course, it's a terrific job, but I just don't want to do it.
Yeah, totally. I like the idea that you'd be on the bench, or you'd be in your confirmation hearings, and some senator would ask, I realize this question doesn't carry the weight that it did 30 years ago, but have you ever broken the law? Have you ever done an illegal drug? Have you ever used marijuana? And you'd be like, you mean like this week?
Do you mean this morning?
Yeah,
no, this morning. That's ridiculous.
No, that's crazy. I want to be at my best for the hearing, exactly.
Yeah, I want to be sharp. I don't want to forget anything.
Right, so I made sure to get super high yesterday.
Yeah. All right, thanks for watching this free clip of Old School. Don't forget to become a TYT member today for the rest of the show and for more exclusive content throughout the network. Join now at tyt.com/join.